have anticipated or been surprised by the rise of radical Islam that's impending and really threatening the world around?
No, they wouldn't have been surprised. They actually predicted that, exactly, both of them. I could talk a little bit more about what Chesterton said about Islam than what Belloc said about, but Belloc talks about it in his book, The Great Heresies.
Yeah.
And they both talk about Islam being a heresy. It's something that actually came out of Christianity. It was a Christian world that Muhammad lived in, and he was reacting to the Christian doctrines that he heard, and he basically chose the ones he liked. And that's what a heresy is. It's choosing truths, but leaving out other truths. And just the whole concept of God within Islam is a heresy of the Trinity. It's taking just part of the Trinity, the most mysterious part, God the Father, the one who is feared, leaving out God the Spirit, who is love, and God the Incarnation, the Son of God. And with just that focus on that one part of the Trinity, God becomes very fearful and mysterious. And Chesterton says, it is the lonely God of the desert who has created the cruel children of the desert. And by the same token, he also says, Muhammad being a warlord, Islam's going to create more warlords. It's going to, because there is only one Muhammad. He says there's actually going to be thousands of Muhammads. And then the other thing is they both agree that Islam's going to be a permanent menace to Christendom, a permanent menace. They use that term. But Chesterton says our chief peril is not attack, it is decay. Really good insight.
Does Chesterton deal with the trajectory of private interpretation? You see it around the world. You go to countries like, or cities like Amsterdam, or places where, they were one time Catholic, they broke away with the ideal of Scripture alone, just give me the Spirit, we love Jesus Christ, we'll follow it, but the trajectory has always been towards relativism.
Right.
And we see it in our country in spades. Did they anticipate that?
Well, I think, when Chesterton says, the tragedy of the Protestant Reformation and the splitting apart of Western society that came from that moment, it wasn't just Protestant versus Catholic anymore. It was Protestant versus Protestant, and then eventually the protestation came to the point that you have non-Christians who are still protesting, not only against Protestants but against each other. Just a constant fragmentation that came from that moment when there was the split in the church. And what he really points out is how Calvinism led to all of the bad modern philosophies that all are attack on free will. So that people now blame their behavior on something else, and they do not take responsibility for their behavior. So obviously you saw that in Calvinism and the predestination, but then you see it in biology, you see it in psychology, you see it in economics, all these fatalistic, predeterministic, that here's this scientific explanation of everything, and your will doesn't play a role in it at all.
Yeah. And, he was contemporary with Huxley, right? And
yes.
That whole movement, the Darwin, the trajectory of that Darwinian that was affecting the culture at the time.
Right. Obviously he was friends with Aldous Huxley, who is the son or grandson of T.H. Huxley, who was the great apologist for Darwin. But Aldous Huxley and them were very good friends. Aldous Huxley actually attended Chesterton's funeral.